telling us he is not athletic. But you know who is athletic? Komugi. Welcome back to another wonderful review of Wonderful Precure. And this episode this week is just fun. For the past few weeks, we've had heavier episodes. We had the one where we built up to the friendly as well as Mayu's kind of like stressful first day of school. This one is just kind of a fun, lighthearted, jovial one while also still setting up for the future of the show because it's very important that we get Komugi into school. It seems that that's going to be a reoccurring thing. And figuring out how to do that. I like that this started off at least addressing some degree of why we even go to school in the first place, where we have Komugi dreaming about doing math, which also we need to remind children that school is important and you should learn. And picking up from what we knew from last week, we have Mei come in and supply Komugi her uniform, and he's like, "You're going to school." I will say they had the opportunity that I don't think they took, where last week it was Satoru who noticed that Komugi wanted to go to school, and I think it would have been cool if they were like, Satoru told Mei, and then Mei made the moves to get it so Komugi could go to school. Because it is kind of random here that Mei is rolling up, but he ultimately ends up pulling through and helping out and setting up this whole episode. I do love that they just basically bitted away the explanation here, because, like I said before, the crystal coming in and granting her the ability to get through the paperwork and potentially tuition to go to school. Beautiful, wonderful. We love how dumb it is. And then, of course, Mei is like, trust and believe, I will give you the explanation. And then our girls are like, per usual, not paying attention. Not paying attention as he lists exactly why this made sense. We also I don't think we named it before, but yeah, it's the Nico Diamond. Congrats for it having a name now. And of course, we have little Komugi, super excited to go to school. I do like that they do this dog in the uniform bit. I like that they do it multiple times in the episode. It's pretty funny. And she's super psyched to be there, trying to get used to everybody immediately. And we also see Iroha immediately sweating with the stress of being like, there are several steps that we're skipping here, sending her to school. Primarily, the point of school. Education is like the most important thing, and I was like, is the gym going to magically make it so that Komugi has a baseline education? No, not doing that. I also get the impression that the series doesn't want to spend too much time dealing with that, so it's kind of just brushed off at every opportunity. And we go in the way that most Precure series seem to, where it's like school is actually a place just for sports. Sports and physical activities are what we really go to school for. I do love the direction that they head with Komugi and soccer for the series though, because we have had a number of Precure up until this point who have all been soccer characters, as well as the fact that Komugi was the last person I think would do soccer, because that requires to use your feet and not your hands. But they were clever and they had her be the goalkeeper and her just be really good at goalkeeping. I think it's gonna be a little, I don't know if they're gonna revisit the soccer concept, but she'll eventually have to be told that you play with your feet. Nonetheless, we have our cute little dopey intro, which I thought was adorable. I love our trio in the back, just having the precise reactions. Maya being like, ah, I know that girl. Iroha being like, we are screwed. And Satoru being like, eh. Beautiful. I just, look at them. This also does great for their characterization, because each of them have their unique expression that works so well for them. Good characterization. They're all distinct from one another, despite all vaguely having the same kind of what is happening reaction. And then look at our adorable little girl here. I come from an era where a lot of shows I had would go very hardcore on the secondhand embarrassment and like negative consequences. I do love that all of this stays lighthearted. It's just goofy, silly, and we are not facing any of the consequences of her just messing up at every turn in school. And also, just look at that face. We very briefly explain the concept of soccer, kind of. More specifically, just being a goalkeeper. And we had this feisty little boy. I'll be honest, I don't remember what his name was, but he was hilarious. I loved his, like, passion for competition. Komugi seemed to also enjoy it. Per usual with the dog. They do want to play fetch forever. But another reason why I don't know if this will be reoccurring is that usually when they go for like the sporty outfits, they tend to make them like very cute. She just has kind of a generic tracksuit with gloves, so I don't know if they're like, again, because they want to sell merch, they usually kind of adorableify it. Don't know how much the soccer is going to be a recurring thing, but Komugi picks it up pretty well, and there really isn't a lot of issues in this department, which again, Glad that we're not going down the super secondhand embarrassment route. Also, I wanted to throw in there the inclusion. Both Mayu and Satoru, once again, are in this episode. For the past few seasons, I've been very, very happy that we've had more balance, making sure that characters are still relevant every episode, even if they're not the focus. I also like, in this particular scene for Satoru has been kind of beating the allegations for the way that boys have been written, not just in Precure, but in Magical Girl series in general. There's a big trend, and not all series, but a good bunch of them will typically have their male characters be just kind of these competent individuals who don't have any negative qualities. And I like that Satoru has negative qualities. And specifically we see here, more highlighted in this episode, he's not athletic. Which also works out in balancing the team, because you do have Iroha already being like put up there as a very athletic individual, constantly asked by other clubs to participate in their athletic activities. So it's nice that Satoru's negative quality ends up being something that complements hers. And given from this episode, I guess if we're gonna rank them, like, Komugi's probably top tier, like, most athletic individual as the dog. Iroha, I don't know where Mayu's gonna land on there, but I know Satoru's the bottom. So it's cute to see him just being so flustered and not being able to handle sports. Again, it keeps the characters feeling very well balanced, and compared to the way male characters have been written historically, it's good to see him have faults. It's good to see him have areas where he could potentially improve, instead of him just being like, he's a nice guy who doesn't really have a lot of issues, and that's it. He has no person. He's like, they're such nothing burger characters. And Satoru just feels like he's in the team. He feels like he belongs here more than almost any male character outside of Tsubasa from last season. He has so far felt the most like he has topped like Takumi in terms of feeling like he is part of the team. He is part of the group. He feels like a character. And of course we have our adorable Komugi having fun. I love that, again, we haven't hit a point yet where she's really been like at her motivation to do stuff squashed. And she looks adorable. She looks like she's having fun, which is really the importance of school. School is not about education. School is about having fun. And she sure is having a lot of fun. She likes now she can have people food. I do love that once again they establish when you're a dog, you cannot have people food. So kids at home, don't feed your animals people food. Okay? Don't sneak it under the table. I know what's up. I think he's been saying it for a while, but Satoru calls her Komugi-chan while he refers to Iroha as Miss, or Inukai-san. Again, the way they translate is Miss Inukai. So I do think it's interesting that he's on this very, like, friendly basis with Komugi, and is also still referring to her that way when she's not the dog. And then I wonder if at some point in the series they'll have it that he eventually calls Iroha, or at least Iroha-chan. Something along those lines. They've been close. They're childhood friends. We can be friendlier. And then we start to hit like where things go downhill. Komugi falling asleep and turning back into a dog. I don't know how we're gonna dodge that because school days they be long. She's gonna have to not fall asleep. And then again, we have the inclusion of Mayu, who was not remotely off-putted by anything that happened with this. She just didn't notice and is like having conversations. I like her being able to have these chats with Iroha and getting along. She's not as shy as other characters have been in the Precure franchise, and it's not super detrimental. She's finally like at a comfortable point with Iroha, which I really enjoy. And of course, we're going to be seeing them more for the next few episodes, so very excited where that's going. And seeing that, like, we've had some... the series has not gone on for too terribly long, but we've had some development already. We have some movement. Well-paced. And this kid, I found it kind of funny because, like, the second we went over to him and he was like, man, how am I gonna beat Komugi? She catches all my balls. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna get turned into the villain of the week. And then I, like, remembered, they don't turn into villain of the week. They set it up exactly the way they do for the person who's gonna be the villain of the monster of the week. But instead, he just puts the egg on his head. And he's like, this is perfect balancing shape. This episode is just something else. It's so funny. And of course, we have to go chase this guy down and get the egg before it hatches. And then Satoru does not make it. Once again, telling us he is not athletic. But you know who is athletic? Komugi. This kid's like, I'm gonna go catch up with Komugi. I'm gonna chase her. Like, she took the egg and she's gone forth. And he goes off and they're like, oh no, what should we do? And Komugi's like, don't worry, I've already run around the entire schoolyard. And at breakneck pace, she seems to retain her speed in human form, which, hilarious. I love it, I love it. Also, I love that our villain of the week is a bird. Also, the girls seem to have a fondness for birds. Like, there's a lot of things about this episode that I feel like might be a reference to Tsubasa from last season. First of all, this bird hatches and immediately collapses on Komugi, which is very reminiscent of a certain finisher from last season. We also have the, I think there's like the Puni shield, which might be a reference to the Puni tribe from, and like, I'm just saying, it feels like a reference. We also have this, which I do believe is more of a concrete reference, where we have the typical, like, Precure stance where they're trying to hold something heavy. I think almost every season has done this at some point in the show. So I love an iconic reference. I wish they did it more. And her shield worked! I have to record that we have the friendly shield, of which I do not know what is named, has successfully done a block. That's on the board. I haven't actually been keeping close track, but that's done on board. Things wrap up. Pretty easy. Wasn't a cute eating animal. I don't think we even used power-ups this episode. And at the end of the day, they're like, we'll not be joining that soccer team, or we're not going to be doing it at the moment because there is too much going on to have somebody in a club. As well as the whole bit where she's like, I have to walk with Iroha, which is cute here, but I know she means as a dog. And overall, just it's a soft little episode. I don't typically go too deep into the previews, but listen, this next episode's gonna hit. We're gonna get the Yuki past explanation episode, and it's gonna be really cute, and I'm so excited. Overall, it was a good week. It just felt like a good kind of palate cleanser, especially since things have been heavier, and it looks like we're gonna go into a heavy, or at least somewhat emotional episode next episode. So we'll see how it goes. Very excited. Did you enjoy it this week? Tell me in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.